Hello everyone, welcome back to Hidden Roots Wellness. Today we will discuss the very interesting 10 biblical breads that could surprise modern nutritionists. Part 1. The search ends here. We live in an era where billions of dollars are spent chasing the next miracle supplement, the latest superfood powder, or the most promising health elixir in a bottle. Walk through any pharmacy or health store, and you'll find shelves lined with products containing ingredients you can barely pronounce, promising everything from weight loss to eternal youth. Yet despite all this searching, all this spending, all this hope placed in synthetic solutions, we remain sicker than ever. What if I told you that everything you've been looking for has been hiding in plain sight for over 3,000 years? Not in a laboratory, not in some exotic location, but right there in the most widely read book in human history. The Bible contains specific recipes, exact ingredients, and detailed instructions for breads that sustained entire civilizations, healed the sick, and provided complete nutrition when nothing else was available. These aren't just stories or metaphors. These are actual formulas given by God Himself, tested by thousands of years of human experience, and now validated by modern nutritional science. The people who ate these breads lived through famines, plagues, wars, and exile. They walked for miles every day, worked with their hands from sunrise to sunset, and many of them lived remarkably long lives despite having no access to modern medicine. Consider this. When the Israelites wandered in the desert for 40 years, they didn't have grocery stores, vitamin shops, or medical facilities. Yet they not only survived, but thrived on foods that came directly from God's instruction. When Jesus fed 5,000 people with 5 loaves and 2 fish, He didn't choose white Wonder Bread. He took the dense, nutrient-packed barley loaves that common people ate every day because they provided real sustenance. The fascinating truth is that modern science has now proven what ancient people knew instinctively. These biblical breads contain complete proteins with all 9 essential amino acids your body needs, but cannot produce on its own. They're loaded with fiber that feeds beneficial gut bacteria. They're rich in minerals that most people are desperately deficient in today. Some of them actually help regulate blood sugar instead of spiking it like modern bread does. But here's what makes this even more remarkable. Every single ingredient mentioned in these biblical bread recipes can be found in any regular grocery store today. You don't need to order exotic soup foods from distant countries or spend hundreds of dollars on specialty items. God designed these recipes using simple, accessible ingredients because He intended them to nourish all people, not just the wealthy. Today I'm going to share with you 10 of these sacred bread recipes, each one adapted carefully for modern kitchens while staying true to the original biblical instructions. We'll start with the bread that saved a king's life, move through the daily bread that Jesus Himself ate, and culminate with a bread that modern diabetics are using to naturally manage their blood sugar levels. The fifth recipe I'll share is perhaps the most extraordinary of all. It's not inspired by biblical principles or loosely based on scriptural concepts. This bread, with its exact ingredient list, was spoken directly by God to the prophet Ezekiel. For over a year, this was the only food one man ate. Yet he remained strong enough to carry out one of the most challenging prophetic missions in history. When modern nutritionists analyzed this ancient formula, they discovered it contains more complete protein than steak and more fiber than almost any food known to science. The 10th recipe is specifically for anyone concerned about blood sugar, whether you've been diagnosed with prediabetes, are currently taking medication, or simply want to protect yourself as you age. This bread has a glycemic index less than half that of regular bread, meaning it actually helps stabilize blood sugar instead of causing dangerous spikes and crashes. But before we dive into these recipes, I need you to understand something important. This isn't about going backward or rejecting modern conveniences. This is about rediscovering wisdom that we've foolishly abandoned. These breads don't replace modern medicine, but they can support your body in ways that processed foods never will. They won't cure every disease, but they can provide the foundational nutrition that makes healing possible. The people who first made these breads understood something we've forgotten in our rush toward convenience and processed foods. They knew that food is medicine, that what you eat either strengthens or weakens every cell in your body, and that God placed healing properties in common ingredients long before pharmaceutical companies existed. As we explore these 10 recipes together, you'll discover that making biblical bread isn't complicated or time-consuming. Most of these can be prepared in under an hour using basic kitchen equipment. But more than that, you'll experience something profound that happens when you connect with food traditions that stretch back to the time of Abraham, Moses, and Jesus himself. There's something deeply satisfying about kneading dough with your own hands, knowing that you're following the exact same steps that sustain the people who walked with God. When the aroma of these ancient grains fills your kitchen, you're not just making food. You're participating in a tradition that connects you to the very foundations of human civilization and divine provision. Part 2. Fig bread, the king's medicine deep in the pages of 2 Kings, chapter 20, verse 7. There's a story that most people read quickly without grasping its profound implications. King Hezekiah, one of the most faithful rulers in Israel's history, lay dying from a terrible illness. The prophet Isaiah had already delivered God's message. Set your house in order, for you shall die and not live. It seemed hopeless, final, beyond human remedy. But after Hezekiah's desperate prayer, God sent Isaiah back with different instructions. Not a complex medical procedure, not a rare herb from a distant land, but something remarkably simple. Take a cake of figs and apply it to the boil, and he will recover. A cake of figs. That's all. One of God's chosen foods, prepared in a specific way, became the medicine that saved a king's life and extended his reign by 15 years. This wasn't coincidence or folk remedy. God had already placed figs on his exclusive list in Deuteronomy 8, verse 8, describing the promised land as a land of wheat and barley, of vines and fig trees and pomegranates, a land of olive trees and honey. When God wanted to describe abundance and blessing, he specifically mentioned figs. When he needed medicine for his faithful king, he prescribed figs. Modern nutritional science has revealed why figs deserve this place of honor. They contain more calcium than most dairy products, making them exceptional for bone health and muscle function. They're loaded with potassium, which naturally regulates blood pressure and supports heart rhythm. The magnesium content helps calm the nervous system and promotes deep, restorative sleep that many people struggle to achieve today. But that's just the beginning. Figs contain both soluble and insoluble fiber, creating a perfect cleansing system for your digestive tract. The soluble fiber feeds beneficial bacteria in your gut, while the insoluble fiber acts like a gentle brush, removing waste and toxins that accumulate over time. They provide natural iron to combat the fatigue and weakness that comes from anemia, especially common in women and older adults. Perhaps most remarkably, figs contain natural enzymes, particularly one called physin, which helps break down proteins and reduces inflammation throughout the body. This isn't the kind of inflammation you can see or feel immediately, but the chronic, low-level inflammation that contributes to heart disease, diabetes, arthritis, and premature aging. Every time you eat figs, these enzymes go to work, naturally supporting your body's healing processes. The natural sugars in figs provide sustained energy without the crash that comes from refined sugar. Unlike processed sweets that spike your blood sugar and then drop it dramatically, figs release their energy slowly and steadily. This is why ancient people could work long, physically demanding days while relying on foods like figs for fuel. Now, here's how to transform these healing figs into the bread that connected King Hezekiah to God's provision. This recipe has been carefully adapted for modern kitchens while preserving the essential character and nutritional power of the original. Start with 2 cups of dried figs, choosing the darkest, softest ones you can find. Dark figs typically contain higher concentrations of antioxidants and minerals. Cut each fig into 3 or 4 pieces. Removing any tough stems. Add 1 cup of pitted dates, preferably medjool if available, as these most closely resemble the dates that grew in ancient Palestine. Place the chopped figs and dates in a large bowl and cover them completely with warm water. Not boiling, which would destroy delicate nutrients, but comfortably warm to the touch. Let them soak for exactly 10 minutes. During this time, the dried fruit begins releasing its natural sugars and softening to the perfect consistency for mashing. While the fruit soaks, prepare your dry ingredients. Use 1.5 cups of whole wheat flour as your base. If you can locate barley flour, which is increasingly available in health stores, substitute half a cup of barley for half a cup of wheat. This combination brings you closer to the grain profile that King Hezekiah would have known, since barley was the primary grain of common people in ancient Israel. Add 1/4 cup of extra virgin olive oil, the cold-pressed kind that retains its full nutritional profile. Olive oil appears throughout biblical history not just as food but as medicine, fuel for lamps, and anointing oil for sacred purposes. Its healthy fats help your body absorb fat-soluble vitamins and provide sustained energy that keeps you satisfied for hours. Include 2 tablespoons of raw, unprocessed honey if you can find it. In the ancient world, honey was precious, often called liquid gold, and served as the primary sweetener long before sugarcane was cultivated. Raw honey contains enzymes, antioxidants, and trace minerals that processed honey lacks entirely. For spices, add 1 teaspoon of cinnamon and 1/4 teaspoon of ground cloves. Cinnamon was among the most valuable spices in the ancient Near East, mentioned in Exodus 30, verse 23 as an ingredient in the sacred anointing oil. Modern research shows that cinnamon helps regulate blood sugar and has powerful anti-inflammatory properties. The cloves provide warmth and depth without overwhelming the fruit flavors. Use 1/4 teaspoon of sea salt to enhance all the other flavors and provide essential minerals. Optionally, you can add a handful of sesame seeds to press onto the surface before baking. Sesame is one of humanity's oldest cultivated plants and appears throughout Middle Eastern cuisine to this day. After the figs and dates have soaked, drain them and mash the mixture into a thick, textured paste. Don't worry about making it perfectly smooth. Some chunks and texture actually improve the final bread, giving it character and ensuring you get concentrated bursts of fruit flavor in every bite. Part 3. Creating fig bread. The ancient process, the beauty of fig bread lies not just in its nutritional power, but in the meditative process of bringing it together. When you work with these ingredients, using your hands to mix, and shape, you're connecting with thousands of years of human tradition. This isn't fast food or convenience cooking. This is the kind of nourishing preparation that our ancestors understood created not just physical sustenance, but emotional and spiritual satisfaction. Preheat your oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit, which translates to approximately 175 degrees Celsius. Take a standard bread loaf pan and prepare it properly by brushing the interior lightly with olive oil, then dusting with a small amount of flour. This prevents sticking and makes removal much easier once the bread is baked. In a large mixing bowl, combine all your dry ingredients: the flour mixture, cinnamon, cloves, and salt. Whisk them together thoroughly until you can see that the spices are evenly distributed throughout the flour. There should be no streaks or clumps of any single ingredient. In a separate bowl, take your mashed fig and date mixture and combine it with the olive oil and honey. Stir this wet mixture until it becomes a thick, dark, incredibly fragrant paste. The aroma alone will transport you to ancient kitchens where this same combination has been bringing families together around the table for millennia. The scent is complex and deeply satisfying. Sweet from the fruit and honey, rich from the olive oil, warm from the cinnamon. With next part 4, the ancient grain revolution, flaxseed bread. There exists a bread that modern society has almost completely forgotten, yet it sustained entire civilizations for thousands of years. When Jesus walked the dusty roads of Galilee, when his disciples gathered around humble tables in simple homes, when families throughout ancient Palestine broke bread together each evening, they weren't eating anything resembling what we call bread today. Their bread was dense, dark, packed with seeds, and contained more nutrition in a single slice than most people get in an entire day of modern eating. The secret ingredient that made this possible grows wild across the hills where Jesus taught, flourishes in the Jordan Valley where John baptized, and has been cultivated continuously for over 7,000 years. That ingredient is flaxseed, and it contains one of the most powerful nutritional compounds known to science: omega-3 fatty acids. You've probably heard of omega-3s in connection with expensive fish oil supplements or salmon dinners. But here's what most people don't realize. When you concentrate flax seeds into a dense, traditional bread where they comprise the majority of ingredients, you can achieve omega omega-3 levels that are 5 times higher than what you'd get from a typical serving of salmon. 5 times. And you can make this bread in your own kitchen for less than the cost of a single restaurant meal. But omega-3s are just the beginning of flax seeds' remarkable nutritional profile. These tiny seeds contain more lignans than any other food source on Earth. Lignans are plant compounds that act as natural hormone balancers, particularly beneficial for women going through menopause or anyone dealing with hormonal imbalances. They also function as powerful antioxidants, protecting cells from the kind of damage that leads to premature aging and chronic disease. Flax seeds are approximately 28% fiber, but it's not just any fiber. It's a unique combination of soluble and insoluble fiber that works together to regulate digestion, lower cholesterol, and create a feeling of sustained fullness that can last for hours. This is why ancient people could perform physically demanding work all day while eating what seems like small amounts of food by modern standards. The protein content of flax seeds is impressive as well. Containing all essential amino acids and ratios that complement other plant proteins beautifully. When combined with the barley flour we'll include in this recipe, you create a complete protein profile that rivals animal products, but without any of the inflammatory or digestive challenges that many people experience with meat and dairy. Perhaps most importantly for our current health crisis, flax seeds help regulate blood sugar naturally. The fiber and healthy fats slow down the absorption of carbohydrates, preventing the spikes and crashes that leave people tired, hungry, and craving more food within an hour of eating. This natural blood sugar regulation was crucial for ancient people who needed steady energy throughout long days of physical labor. Now let's talk about recreating this ancient superfood in your modern kitchen. The process is surprisingly simple, requiring no special equipment beyond what most people already have. You'll need 2 cups of ground flaxseed, also sold as flax meal in most grocery stores. This forms the foundation of your bread and is where all that omega-3 power resides. Add half a cup of barley flour if you can find it, or whole wheat flour as a substitute. The barley brings us closer to the authentic ancient grain profile, since it was the most common grain among ordinary people in biblical times. Wheat was more expensive and typically reserved for special occasions or wealthier families. Include 1/4 cup each of sesame seeds, pumpkin seeds, and sunflower seeds. These aren't just for texture and flavor, though they provide both beautifully. Each type of seed contributes different minerals and vitamins. Sesame seeds are rich in calcium and magnesium. Pumpkin seeds provide zinc and iron. Sunflower seeds offer vitamin E and healthy fats that complement the omega-3 from the flax. Add 2 tablespoons of chia seeds, which are the closest modern equivalent to some of the small seeds that grew wild in ancient Palestine. Chia seeds actually contain even more omega-3s than flax seeds, so this small addition significantly boosts the nutritional power of your bread. Use 1 teaspoon of sea salt, not refined table salt. Sea salt contains trace minerals that your body needs, and that ancient people got naturally from their food sources. Add 1.5 cups of warm water, not hot enough to destroy nutrients, but warm enough to help bind everything together. Include 2 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil, the real cold-pressed kind that retains its full nutritional profile. This isn't just for moisture and flavor. Olive oil helps your body absorb fat-soluble vitamins and provides monounsaturated fats that support heart health and reduce inflammation. The mixing process is where you'll notice this bread behaves differently from modern bread. Start by combining all the dry ingredients in a large bowl, stirring until everything is evenly distributed. You'll immediately notice the complex, nutty aroma as the seeds release their natural oils. Add the warm water and olive oil gradually, mixing slowly until the mixture forms what can only be described as a thick, sticky dough. Don't expect it to look like conventional bread dough. It will be much denser, darker, and heavier. This is exactly what you want. This is how bread looked and felt when nutrition was the priority rather than appearance or convenience. Let this mixture rest for exactly 10 minutes. This resting period is crucial because it allows the flax seeds to absorb water and swell, creating natural binding properties that eliminate the need for eggs or artificial binding agents. The flax seeds essentially do the work that chemical additives do in modern bread, but they do it naturally while adding tremendous nutritional value. Part 5. Ezekiel's Divine Formula. The complete protein miracle. Now, we come to the most extraordinary bread recipe in human history. This isn't a bread inspired by biblical principles or loosely based on scriptural references. This bread, with its exact ingredient list and specific proportions, was dictated directly by God Himself to the prophet Ezekiel over 2,600 years ago. Every word of the recipe appears in your Bible, and modern nutritional science has proven that this ancient formula creates something that shouldn't be possible. A bread that contains more complete protein than steak and more fiber than almost any food known to humanity. The story begins in one of the darkest chapters of Israel's history. Ezekiel, a priest and prophet, received an assignment from God that would test the limits of human endurance. He was commanded to lie on his side for 430 days, barely moving, symbolically bearing the sins of Israel and Judah. 430 days equals more than 14 months. Try to imagine lying almost motionless for over a year. Your muscles would waste away, your body would weaken, and most people wouldn't survive a month of such deprivation. But God didn't abandon Ezekiel to starvation. Instead, he provided a specific formula, a precise recipe that would sustain the prophet's body, mind, and spirit throughout this incredible ordeal. The instructions appear in Ezekiel chapter 4, verse 9, and they're remarkably detailed. Take wheat and barley, beans and lentils, millet and spelt. Put them into one storage jar and use them to make bread for yourself. 6 ingredients. 1 container. 1 bread. But don't let the apparent simplicity fool you, because what God designed in that single sentence represents nutritional wisdom that modern science is only beginning to fully understand and appreciate. When you combine grains like wheat, barley, millet, and spelt with legumes like beans and lentils, something remarkable happens at the molecular level. Grains naturally contain some amino acids, but lack others. Legumes contain the amino acids that grains lack, while missing some that grains provide abundantly. When you eat them together, they complete each other's protein profiles, creating what nutritionists call a complete protein. This means Ezekiel's bread contains all 9 essential amino acids in the proper ratios that your body needs, but cannot manufacture on its own. These are the same building blocks found in meat, eggs, and dairy products, but without the cholesterol, saturated fat, or inflammatory compounds that cause problems for many people. You're getting the protein benefits of animal products while eating something that's entirely plant-based. But the nutritional sophistication goes far beyond protein. Each ingredient contributes unique properties that work synergistically with the others. Wheat provides B vitamins and minerals. Barley adds beta-glucan fiber that helps regulate cholesterol and blood sugar. Lentils contribute folate, iron, and additional fiber. Beans provide potassium, magnesium, and more plant protein. Millet offers easily digestible carbohydrates and trace minerals. Spelt contains a different gluten structure that many people tolerate better than modern wheat. When modern nutritionists analyzed this ancient formula using contemporary methods, they discovered something astonishing. Ezekiel's bread contains approximately 18 grams of complete protein per serving, compared to about 25 grams in a similar-sized piece of steak. But unlike steak, this bread also provides 36 grams of fiber, something that meat contains none of whatsoever. The fiber content alone makes this bread extraordinary. Most Americans consume less than half the fiber they need daily, leading to digestive problems, elevated cholesterol, unstable blood sugar, and increased risk of colon cancer. A single serving of Ezekiel bread provides more fiber than most people eat in an entire day, and it's the kind of fiber that feeds beneficial gut bacteria while helping eliminate waste and toxins from your system. The mineral profile is equally impressive. Iron for healthy blood and energy production. Magnesium for muscle function and stress management. Zinc for immune system support and wound healing. Potassium for heart health and blood pressure regulation. Folate for cellular repair and brain function. All of this in proportions that your body can actually absorb and use effectively. But perhaps most remarkably, this bread has a low glycemic index despite containing multiple grain sources. The combination of protein, fiber, and complex carbohydrates means it releases energy slowly and steadily rather than causing the blood sugar spikes and crashes associated with modern bread. People who eat Ezekiel bread report feeling satisfied for hours, with steady energy and no cravings for additional food. Now, let's talk about recreating this divine formula in your kitchen today. The process requires some preparation but isn't complicated, and the results are so superior to anything you can buy that the effort becomes worthwhile immediately. Start with your grain components. 2½ cups of whole wheat flour, 1½ cups of spelt flour, half a cup of barley flour, and 1/4 cup of millet. If you can't find some of these flours readily available, many health food stores carry them, and they're increasingly available online. The investment in finding authentic ingredients pays tremendous dividends in nutrition and flavor. For the legume components, you'll need 1/4 cup of dried lentils, 2 tablespoons of dried kidney beans, and 2 tablespoons of dried Great Northern beans or chickpeas. These must be ground into flour before using. If you have a grain mill or high-powered blender, this takes about a minute per batch. If not, many health food stores will grind them for you, or you can sometimes find legume flours already prepared. The key is grinding them fine enough that they integrate smoothly into the bread rather than creating hard, indigestible pieces. When properly ground, they should feel like coarse flour rather than gritty meal. Add 1 teaspoon of sea salt for flavor and mineral content. Include 1/4 cup of extra virgin olive oil, which adds moisture, richness, and helps your body absorb fat-soluble vitamins from the other ingredients. Use 2 tablespoons of raw honey for a gentle sweetness that complements the earthy grain flavors without overpowering them. You'll need approximately 1½ cups of warm water, though the exact amount may vary slightly, depending on the moisture content of your flours. Finally, add 2 teaspoons of yeast if you want a lighter, more risen bread, or omit the yeast entirely for a denser, more traditional unleavened version that's closer to what Ezekiel himself would have eaten. Part 6. The Bread of Exodus. Unleavened urgency in the middle of the night, in the middle of a miracle, in the middle of the most dramatic escape in human history, there was bread. Not elaborate bread, not ceremonial bread, not the kind of bread you plan and prepare for hours. This was the bread of urgency, the bread of survival, the bread that could be mixed, shaped, and baked in minutes because freedom couldn't wait for dough to rise. Exodus chapter 12, verse 39 tells us exactly what happened. With the dough the Israelites had brought from Egypt, they baked loaves of unleavened bread. The dough was without yeast because they had been driven out of Egypt and did not have time to prepare food for themselves. 600,000 men, plus women and children, perhaps 2 million people in total, fleeing slavery under cover of darkness, carrying on their shoulders the hastily prepared dough that would sustain them through their first steps toward the promised land. This wasn't just a historical event. It was the birth of a bread that would become central to Jewish identity and spiritual practice for over 3,000 years. God commanded that this unleavened bread be eaten every year during Passover for 7 consecutive days, and he was specific. About the timing. The entire process, from the moment water touches flour to the moment the bread enters the oven, must not exceed 18 minutes. Why 18 minutes? Because that's how long it takes for natural wild yeast, which exists everywhere in the air around us, to begin fermenting dough. After 18 minutes, the fermentation process starts, and bread is no longer truly unleavened. In biblical symbolism, yeast represents sin, something that spreads invisibly. Puffs things up and changes the essential character of what it touches. Unleavened bread represents purity, simplicity, bread without mixture or corruption. When Jesus celebrated his final Passover with the disciples, this was the bread he broke and shared. When he said, "This is my body," broken for you. He was holding unleavened bread, bread made without yeast, bread that represented sacrifice and purity. The symbolism was intentional and profound. Just as this bread contained no yeast, Jesus contained no sin. Just as this bread was made quickly under pressure, his sacrifice came at a moment of ultimate urgency and crisis. But beyond its spiritual significance, unleavened bread served practical purposes that made it invaluable for ancient peoples. It could be prepared quickly when time was short. It kept longer than yeasted bread without spoiling. It was dense and filling, providing sustained energy for long journeys. It required only the most basic ingredients that even poor families could afford. And it could be cooked on simple equipment, even just hot stones around a fire. Modern people often think of unleavened bread as bland or boring, but that's because they're thinking of mass-produced crackers or cardboard like matzo from a box. Real unleavened bread, made fresh with good ingredients, has a completely different character. It's nutty, satisfying, with a pleasant chewiness and the pure, clean taste of